traditionally what we have been doing through YPC is we do one session with the program directors to have their input and guide you guys so they can tell you their own insight about the residency application, about what they look into the candidate and their profile and so on and so forth. So this is going to be a 1 hour session that is going to be followed by another session with the leadership of ECFMG, FSMB, and USMLE. So that in continuation to this, and then later at 11:30 we will move on to the research competition, poster presentation, and oral presentation and all that. So I'll get started. Sorry, my voice, and we work hard in the morning, and you guys have seen the party harder in the night, and so I was, kind of singing with Sajjad last night, so my voice is a little off. So pardon me for that. So I'll go ahead and introduce my panelists. We are waiting on one more program director. He's here in the hotel, so he will show up in the next few minutes, hopefully, inshallah. So I'll introduce first my co-moderator, Dr. Shumail Tariq. He's an interventional cardiologist and he's the president of NAMA. He'll be moderating the session with me. Thank you, Shumail. So first of all, I would like to introduce Dr. Amna Anis. She's an assistant professor and program director in internal medicine in Charleston at West Virginia University. Dr. Anis, then I have Dr. Aftab Khan. He is the PIO and founding program director of internal medicine residency at SGHS in Brunswick, Georgia. Dr. Khan. Sorry, Dr. Ahmad. And then I have Dr. Raheel Khan, who is a professor of pediatrics and ex-program director in pediatrics and MedPeace residency at Robert Siebert Health Science and Center of West Virginia University, Charleston Division. Good to have you, Dr. Khan. And lastly, once Dr. Shad is here, Dr. Mujib Shad, he is the program director in psychiatry. So we should be very soon. So the session usually what we do is we have the program directors inside about the residency application of what they see, and we'll move on to obviously different specialties and different programs in different settings. But before that, Dr. Aftab Ahmad has a good presentation that we will start with, and then we can go from there. Dr. Aftab, your presentation is on, and here.
Good morning. Can you hear me? All right. Last time when I checked, I think that the cost for the 10th row and the last row and middle, they were same, right? Yes. Okay. The last rows here should be reserved for the people who come there because they are really very highly priced. Okay. So in order to sit in the back, you have to come on. Middle one, I don't know. Okay, so I hope that you're interested, and next time you'll sit in the back. Having said that, my name is Dr. Ahmad. I had the opportunity to start 2 programs already. I'm starting the 3rd program as the founding program director. So it is.
It's hard to hear back here. Just bring your mic closer. Yeah, that's fine.
Is it good? All right, how's that? Is it? I will just kind of encourage you. All right. So having said that, I started 2 programs in the past successfully. In the first program, we were able to start cardiology, the PMOM fellowship. In the current program that I lost and that last week, we started a program in internal medicine and transitional program. And there is a hope for you that one of the transitional program that is my own class. We are about to start in 2026 cardiology, GI, and critical care. And then an opportunity came. And I accepted a position closer to home in Jacksonville, where I'll be the DIO and again founding program director. So this will be the 3rd program. First thing I would say is that you need to decide what you do. Okay, if you do not know what you're doing or where you're going, you may end up somewhere else. There is kind of a different version of the same saying is that if you don't know where you're going, any road will take you. Okay, so first decide what you want to do. So I think it's a know your strengths. We'll come to a slide very quickly. That I'll tell you what your strengths are. You already know, but what we see on the other end, the program directors, here are three buckets that the program director and they have the right to disagree. The three buckets are, one is I call them A, B, C. A is academic, B is broadcaster, C is clinicians. Right, so you see that the first bar is A, which is academician, right? The first candidate. So there are three different candidates. So the first one is a very high in academic. The second one is in research, right? I had one candidate who worked 2 years in Mayo and 27 publications, right? But I have to kind of balance it out. And the third one is clinician. Because the need is not that everybody is going to be specialists. We need the people who are going to be the hospitalists and clinicians. So when we are looking at the candidates, you may say, oh, this person's score is very high. This person has published books, right? But maybe we are looking for you, who's a clinician, who can see that in 2 or 3 years, we are going to need a hospitalist or someone in the clinic, and we are preparing you for that, right? So these are the three candidates, again, the same thing. First candidate, second candidate, third candidate. I would say that your strength is either in the first two. First would be the main one. Your scores are going to be high. Now, taking the step one score out is a disadvantage of you guys. So what are we? We are going a little bit back for especially US graduates because we can look into their MSPE, that how was their performance in the medical school. MSPE, like, medical school performance. So we are looking into that, going back into the data, because there were 2 sets of data, objective data. Now we have only 1 set of data. So when we are interviewing, we are asking these 3 questions that are in our mind, and you need to answer them. That before we interview, so one is before the interview, one is during the interview, one is after the, right? The first part is before the interview. The question is, why should I like interview this person? So where this person will fit? I'm not going to have all researchers because my program is not a university. I need to fill in all of 3 buckets, right? So before I do that, I'm looking at, okay, do I have enough of people in A bucket, B bucket, and C bucket, right? Second is during the interview, I'm making the determination that should this person be on the rank order list or not. Should I have another folder kind of tab, which is D and I. So the first one is D and I, do not interview. Second is do not rank. In other words, after the interview is not the other DNR, is do not rank, right? The third one is that after the interview, when we are discussing with the group, everyone has a selection committee of the procedure they follow. In that one, they decide that where should we put in the rank order list. So it's in the top, in the middle, or in the bottom. Some of the results, I have a timer, 7 minutes. So I'm going to stop at that time. Some of the slides I'm going to skip over. This is the data that every hospital and system uses, which shows that by 2030, we'll have the shortage of anywhere between 40, which is the lower end, upper end is 140,000. And 2030 is not that far if you think about it. We are making the progress, but it's not that we are overshooting. We are still like in that area. This is about the primary care only, that how much is the short for the primary care. So the lower end is 17, between 17 and 48,000. This is different areas that how much is the shortage in each area according to the HRSA data. And I want to bring your attention to one of this slide, which is important. It's not very highly regarded or rated or very valid, but this is the only data that we have that according to this study, for every baby boomer doctor who's retiring, we need 1.7 doctors to take care of those hours. And it's not that they are lazy or something. It is that they don't want to do anything more than 40 hours. And even 40 hours is a kind of stretch because they believe, maybe rightly so, they believe in the quality of life like we never did, or the people who are older than us, they never did. So I'm jumping right into without naming the program. This is my own data. We had around 4,800. Should I continue?
This is very important too.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you. I had around 4,800 applicants. I interviewed 133. I ranked only 72 because it's easier if you it's less work towards the end, right? And we matched 30. So that is the rank is 1.5% of the total, right? Which is like really scary number. And this is like again the same representation. In average program that 100% matched, they are ranked 13 people for each one. And I ranked only 5.7, so which is kind of stress. Again, a kind of small slide. I want you to see that step 2 score, 253 puts you at 75%, and 262 is 90%. I think that that's what you should shoot for, because like I said, you were the first candidate who was in academics. So if you're not bringing the score to the table, research is going to be like kind of, there's no hope, but you're not going to be very high on that. Cultural and other things, you're not going to be that as US. So your strength is the score. If we look at this one, again, the data is clear that between you want to stay between those two numbers. This is actually US seniors score. If you see, even for them, the lower score, the numbers are really, really low. These are again my data. I wanted to stay between those two lines. That all those are interviewed 133s. This is that I thought they were rankables, and this is where the rank, and this is where we match. And I'll stop at this time. I'll have other people speak. Thank you.
Great, scary, but guys don't be scared. 700 out of you guys from Pakistan matched this year. So obviously the competition is getting higher, but at the same time, you guys are very smart and you guys can do it. Made it here. So and that's how the data has been for the years, I would say. So we'll move on to Dr. Anis and get her input to kind of again just a little bit more of what do you see again in the application and what are the points that you would like?
Good morning, everyone. I think so. I don't have anything concrete prepared like Dr. Aftab, so I'm just going to go by the non-script. The first thing I'll say is that the competition is so high, which I know all of you appreciate that. There are, for my 13 spots, I get over 5,000 applications. And majority of them are IMGs, and IMGs don't only include Pakistan. So how do we, get to that pool that we have to interview? Obviously, filters matter. Your SEP scores, your observerships, and all of that matter. A couple of things that I want to point out that are something that I don't see on the threads that are posted on the YPC and all that is that whenever you write an email to the program director, please say truth and only truth in that. If you say that your brother lives in that city and then I call you for an interview and your brother does not actually live in the city, that's going to be on the DNR list. At least that's my personal opinion. So anything that's not true on your application can be a big red flag, whether it is a publication. So if you have publications, I don't care if you have 5 or 20 publications. What I care about is that the publications that you actually did matter, are impactful, and you actually participated in it and not just random, somebody else did a publication and you just copy your name on it, because we do go through a lot of applications and we do find out kind of where the truth ends, and so just be very mindful of what you put on your application. Same thing goes for the personal statement as well. With the personal statement, again, we want you to be your authentic self. And I know you've heard this before, but I really would like you to deviate away from internal medicine being a jigsaw puzzle. Okay, I think I have probably seen that a lot, and maybe the other program directors can concur as well. But just tell us your story. What if your story is a story of hardship or a story of struggle? Go ahead, do that. It's a personal statement that's just going to be reviewed by the program directors. We want to see what brought you into this journey. So just kind of be your authentic self is what I would say, because truly, with step 1 going away, with step 2 being very competitive, we are looking at step 3 a little bit more too, people have done it. And the other thing is, if you've done all that, and let's suppose you didn't match 1 year, and you're going to go for a match next year, I think, at least for me and my program, Dr. Avdavima talked about 3 buckets. So academics have already done steps. Research, you can continue doing that. But clinician part, that's something that you can improve, and not just observership. You could go for clinical experience at your home country and start doing some kind of clinical activity. And I think that matters as well. Instead of 12 observerships, probably it would be better to do a solid experience, which means that you're taking care of real patients, have hands-on experience. So I think that also a very important component to your application, because you want to stand out, because a lot of people have that past step 1, scores about 250, 3 observerships. That's the minimum criteria to apply. So those would be some of the points that I want to add on.
Great, thank you very much. Yes, and again, I think we can't emphasize this enough. Be yourself is actually being yourself, right? I mean, again, you're gonna write your story in your personal statement. I mean, and then you go in your interviews, and obviously, Dr. Anis mentioned, I mean, the story doesn't connect what you have written in your personal statement versus what you are telling. I mean, this is their job. I mean, they do it in and out every single day of their life, right? I mean, but as a program director, so it's not that easy to fake something that so just be yourself. What the story that you're telling in your personal statement should connect in you personally when you're talking and when you're interviewing. So thank you for your input. Moving on to Dr. Rahil Khan, in pediatrics and also internal meds, combined med peds. I think recently we got a lot of questions about the combined program at PEDS, psych, combined with some other specialties and all that. And then also that, folks are reaching out, the kids are reaching out, and then, having the experiences in pediatrics and psych and internal medicine and all that. And what we are trying to emphasize through IPC also, that the CV should be very focused in one particular specialty. So how do you justify if somebody is not really med being very few programs? Do you think having 2 completely different experiences, medicine and pediatrics, in your CV, how do you see it? And then there's going to be the question to also the internal medicine program directors with more to peds and med peds, Dr. Rai, and your input on that.
So, you guys hearing? So med peds is basically it's a more competitive program. There are not as many positions for med peds. It attracts a higher quality, higher caliber candidates as well. Most of these are US grads. When we had the med peds program, now it's no more in existence. Used to be pretty much 100% US grads. There are a few foreign different, some international grads as well. But it's a little more competitive program as opposed to both internal medicine and PEDS program, which are separate categorical programs. Number of positions are a lot more as well. So I know everybody said about how difficult it is to get into the program. I think if you look at the statistics, the odds are in your favor. If you look at the number of positions, I was just looking at the match for this year, the international grads, if you divide international grads into those who are US born and raised and went to the Caribbean and came back, versus those who are not US born and raised and they are truly international grads, the match rate was close to 60%. So that's not just even 50%, not 22. So if things go in your favor, I think that a lot of people discourage you that it's very difficult, it's not going to be easy. As some of my esteemed colleagues already told you, I think your scores is the thing that gets your foot in the door. That is what we look at. And obviously, as Dr. Anis just mentioned, we get thousands of applications. And I'm not a program director anymore. I did that for almost 20 years. So we get thousands of applications. It's just not possible to go over every single application. So we put some filters in the system and get the scores up. So other than the scores that we are looking for is if you have any experience or exposure to the US medical system. Doing some rotations here, I think it always is helpful. We also look for people who have a more recent graduation. If you did your medical school 15 years ago and you don't have as much, I guess, activity within your chosen field, then that is probably not rested well with you guys. I see a lot of young faces here, so it looks like most of you are probably recent graduates, or about to be graduating. So these are the things that we look for. If you have done any research and stuff, that's always a plus. That sort of shows your commitment. But as somebody mentioned earlier, we see a lot of these kids who, these applicants who come in and they have cited 3 or 4 researchers in their CV, and you ask the first question, so tell me what your hypothesis was, and they are totally blank and they don't know anything. So if you come across as less than genuine, as somebody said, the term DNR or BNI, that applies there. So you have to be genuine. You have to, if you put something in on your CV, that's an open gate, then anybody and everybody's going to be able to ask you questions about that. So be honest, and if you are not as much honest, at least know what is on your CV, and you should be able to carry out the conversation about whatever you put in there. Other things that we look for in the candidate, other than the scores and the CV itself, I think I used to pay a lot of attention to their personable, not whether it's a telephone conversation or Zoom thing or in person. You should be able to carry out the conversation. If there's a huge language barrier, that they're culturally not compatible, then it becomes very difficult for them to work in an environment, because it's teamwork. Medicine is a teamwork. If you cannot be part of the team, you cannot work with the rest of the people, then it becomes very difficult to get that program. One, I guess, less friendly person who can destroy the entire environment of the program. So obviously, no program director wants that kind of person in the program. So that is extremely important. Personally, I like somebody, I don't necessarily looking for that person who knows everything. Because if you know everything, if you've done everything, you need to go out there practice in some place. You're coming to a program because you are here to learn. So the quality that I'm looking for is, are you bringing that desire to learn? Are you motivated to move from point A to point B? That is the most important aspect. So if you have that motivation, if you have that kind of work ethics, that is the more desirable person. And with the right attitude. So that's extremely important. People talk about the CV and stuff as well. CV, and I see a lot of duplication within the CV and the personal statement. They are totally different things. And some of these personal statements are sort of, it's not, you don't have to write a thesis. It doesn't have to be a piece of literature. And I see a lot of quotes and stuff. It should be something that reflects you. CV is a list of what you have done. Right? So what have you achieved? I graduated from here, I did this and I did that. Personal statement in my mind is tells you who you are, tells a program director who you are, not what you have done, but who you are, what your background is, what motivates you, what frustrates you, what your future aspirations might be. Everybody, I think Dr. Anis just mentioned, everybody likes a sort of a rags to riches kind of thing. So coming from a humble background and those kind of things, if that is the case, then put it down. And not everybody's going to have that. I interviewed, I called a person. He was a graduate from international school, and he put down that he's currently, because he's out of money and everything, he's working as a grocery bagger in a grocery store. He was a physician in his country and he graduated, So just for that reason, I invited him, and it turned out to be a very decent resident of my program, he graduated from my program. So those kind of stories, heartwarming stories, and how you struggled and how you came to this point and stuff. So sometimes that catches your eye. I am the program director. So those kind of things are important. What else? So these are basic things we have to move forward. But again, what I'm emphasizing is that the things are not as bad. I think the number of positions keep increasing every year, and I know the number of applicants increase every year as well. But if you are above the at least 50%, above 50% percentile in that group, you have a very decent chance of matching. So don't get disheartened. Don't get disheartened. I know it's a very stressful thing. But look at the match results. Look at the number for the last few years. I think 60% for international, not just the US born. US born and raised, their numbers are even higher. But those who are coming from Pakistan, India, other countries, even they more than 60, but almost 60% of them match. So you have odds in your favor. So don't get disheartened. Do your work, do your due diligence, and be honest. Be honest. Be genuine. That's extremely important.
Great. Thank you so much, Dr. Khan. Moving on, Dr. Majid, thank you for joining us here in this panelists. Dr. Majid Shah is the Program Director in Psychiatry at the Valley Health System. Thank you, Dr. Shah. Dr. Shah, would you like to add, especially from site perspective, and also touch upon the personal statement, how important that is? What do you see in a personal statement?
Yeah, thank you for inviting me. Very excited to see so many young faces here, motivated young fresh faces who are very highly ambitious at this time, which I used to be when I was your age. But the time has just flown away. I cannot imagine that now I am talking to the people, trying to mentor them or give them some advices on how to apply for a residency. So I think psychiatry is something which is really become so competitive over the years. I remember when I came to America and I was interested in psychiatry, my friends and my family used to say, become a physician, not a psychiatrist. Yeah. And those times they said, if you're really interested in brain sciences, go to neurology, make some money back, man. Psychiatry is not going to. Psychiatry used to be at the bottom of income kind of scale, like with pediatrics and with family medicine, psychiatry. But I think today I look back at that and I say that the starting salaries for a psychiatrist these days almost 300,000 per year. The starting salary. I started with 80,000. So the times have really changed. But I think that actually adds a little bit to the problems as well, because when a field becomes extremely competitive, you have to really show that you have to compete with American graduates. And very well in psychiatry, there is kind of a return of huge interest among American medical graduates about psychiatry, because the lifestyle they have learned is good. One thing which happened after COVID is that people have started to pay more attention to the quality of life. And that actually is one of the major factors which has contributed to interest in psychiatry, that, even if I'm on call, I get a call that somebody is in the ER, admit, I'll see in the morning. So this lifestyle is unless you are a pathologist or you're an anesthesiologist or a hospital or an emergency medicine physician, which you have very kind of, time, you don't carry any patient's load over when you go home, right? Those are the fields. But in psychiatry, I think these are some of the attractive points about psychiatry that people have really, and I actually see so much interest even in foreign medical graduates, international medical graduates, and I mentor a lot of them. I think some of you who are interested in psychiatry would know that we have a PAPANA organization, which is Pakistani American Psychiatric Society of North America, Association of North America. And I used to be actively involved with that organization. I actually made it a kind of a tax exempt organization several years back, like 2018. Now we have a new leadership, which is very efficient and active in helping. But I still participate. I'm the I'm the director of I'm the chair of the research committee for Papana, so I still mentor people. But coming back to your abilities, so I'll tell you my point of view when I interview applicants. What I look at, I'll tell you what, but they may actually vary from program director to program director. But I'll tell you because I have a research background. I love all three branches of psychiatry, clinical practice and research, as well as teaching. All three are very near and dear to my heart because I don't think that without any one of those two you'll become a complete psychiatrist. So one thing to address the competitiveness, that is the most important thing you need to know, is improve your CV. That is something. So there are some modifiable factors and there are some unmodifiable factors. The biggest modifiable factor is your CV, right? So what I mean is that show some abstract, some reviews, and like Dr. Rahil said very, very nicely, because you have to remember this. If you do something and you put it on your CV, you should know everything about that. Because, if you are interviewing with me, I will ask questions. That what was your hypothesis? What research question you wanted to review? And what was the result? And what are the potential possibilities to explain what you observed, right? And mechanisms underlying. So that is something which I really, I'll tell you frankly, a lot of program directors may not look at that, but I really give interviews to only those people who have some scholarly activity. I'll be frank with you. I don't look at the scores that much. I do care about scores. I don't look at personal statement that much. I don't look at sometimes at the reference letters. The story of the reference letters, I think Rahil probably would agree, is that, your people who write letters for you, they ask you to give you a sample letter so that they can review it and sign it. So most of the letters you write. So I know that. I've gone through those stages. So basically what I'm trying to say is, and don't take my word for it, because other program directors might look at it very seriously, but this is me, okay? I look at the scholarly activities. I look at the first thing. Another thing which I look at is your CV is reflective of your genuine interest in psychiatry. Because if you have done everything in internal medicine or pediatrics or any other, and then you come, suddenly you develop an interest in psychiatry. That is something which is very fishy for me, right? Because of the demand of psychiatrists, because of the salary, starting salary and the quality of life, anybody can be interested in psychiatry. For me, it is extremely important to see a genuine interest in psychiatry, because psychiatry is one of those fields where if you are not genuinely interested, you will be miserable. Your faculty, your program director, your teachers will be miserable. You have to have an aptitude. This is not as relevant in other fields, but in psychiatry, it's all about your personality, your interpersonal interactions, your social, your ability to listen to the patient, empathy, right? So I look for that during an interview, and I will tell you, I can see that. So those are some of the very important things which I do. The last point I will make, I don't want to take a lot of time, but the last point I will make is that, the other modifiable factor, there are many modifiable factors, including your USMLE scores, because you have done it, right? The scores you cannot change unless you are bold enough to take it again, which is not a good idea, right? So the thing is that another modifiable factor is that how you interview. That is something under your control, right? Definitely. I will give you some tips. If you practice as much as you can, because desensitization of your anxiety is one of the most important things you will give. It will give you a kind of confidence during the interview. The more you practice, the less anxious you are, and more kind of, you have more kind of cognitive flexibility to answer to the difficult questions sometimes, right? The other thing is, another thing if you can add is that interview and record it and watch yourself. I guarantee you that you will see deficiencies in your own self. This is, please follow this point, because I've seen this help so many applicants, so many different times. Watch yourself. Because I may not be even give you so much feedback, but you can yourself see. Because this tunnel vision, sometimes you're not able to see your own deficiencies. But when you watch yourself on the screen, oh my God, I should not do that, right? So those are some of the points. And if you have any other questions, I'll be available after the meeting and I'll give you some personal advice. Thank you so much.
Great. Thank you so much, Akshat, for a detailed description. Really appreciate it. I think, so what we wanted to do is really keep it interactive, but we only have the next 20 minutes because we have another session at 10:30. I'm sure most of your questions are already answered, but still we would like you to ask questions. Raise your hands and our moderators and volunteers will take the mic to you. So let's get started.
But just to recap, so far what I've heard is be authentic, be genuine. I think a lot of people are overwhelmed. Which specialty should I apply to? Which one will my numbers get me into? And then, bombard programs with emails, find every Pakistani Muslim sounding name on the website and try to send them an email. And I did that as well when I was applying. I'm an American graduate, but I did the same thing. But personalizing it, making it feel genuine, goes much further. Send me emails, of course, get your resume, do as much research as possible. Don't stalk people, but, find out, their interests and then try to strike up a bond over that. Whether they're Pakistani, whether they're immigrants, whatever their background, whether it's research. But being authentic and genuine, I think consistently is what I heard from everybody. But yeah, let's open it up to
thanks everyone for joining. Dr. Khan from Psychiatry. My question for IMPDs is that this is something that comes up a lot, that people who have red flag, what they call accounts per se, how do they cross the filters that are already placed? Because most of the places, especially in IMPDs, would have a account filter or a low score filter like 230, 235. So how is there a way to cross that? Number one question. The number two question is, do you all feel that adding step 3 in the applicants for ING applicants adds value in terms of obtaining interviews as well as a rank order list? Thank you.
So I'll let Dr. Anise address that one. She's got it.
Sure, thank you for the question. So for the red flags, I think those are two separate things, red flags and low scores. 230, 235 are still okay if you have a lot of other good stuff on your CV. May not pass filters for some programs, but if you, again, send a personalized email and show clinical activity, to me, that's a very important thing, because if you have 230, but you were starting after a house job, you're starting a residency in your home country, you're showing me that you can take care of patients, that matters. Red flags, unfortunately, not so easy to overcome. So for that, you may have to apply for a research position and to actually apply to programs that get to know you personally, either through a research position or through observership, because they are hard. And most of the programs will shy away from, pulling their application if they don't know you. The second question is step 3. I think it's pretty important nowadays. It shouldn't be. I know it's unclear when it comes to AMGs versus IMGs, but you basically want every shot that you can take to, get your application further. And step 3 does contribute to that. So suppose if you have step 1 pass, step 2, you have a 230 and you wanted to, get a higher score and weren't able to, then step 3 is your opportunity to actually show that you're making some progression. So I would highly recommend it if you. Thank you.
Anyone else in the audience? Please raise your hands.
Just to comment on that one, a different program are different. I would say that, like I said, I put you in bucket A, right, academics. If you're not bringing the scores to the table, then I have to look very deep at what I'm bringing to the table. Right? So that is one thing. Step 3 gives the reassurance that what is your trajectory? Because once the step 1 is gone, now we have only one objective data point, which is step 2. Now, since step 2, are you going up or down? I do not know. Unless you give me the step 3, that tells me that you're still kind of working hard and your trajectory is high. 230, 235 is for your steps. And that's me. That's me. I would say that if I have 230, 235, why should I take an IMG compared with a USD? And I have to answer that to myself and my colleagues. A few points I think that were covered. I would say that personal statement should be limited to 1 page. Right? If you cannot concise it to 1 page, then I will get the impression that, you know what, you cannot get your chart together. You cannot put them in 1 page. You cannot concise. In the first year or in the beginning, we are looking for depth of knowledge. In the second year and onwards, we want to see the depth of knowledge. So if we get 1 page, I know that you can put your thoughts in 1 page. I would add to the different things that we did not come here, we did not start here. We were sitting where you were sitting. One day you'll be sitting here. So that's kind of encouraging. There were 3 objectives when I came here for you guys. One was to give you some information or knowledge or data that you did not have. Okay. Second is to inspire you. I think that you already mentioned that 600 to 700, that's the number that we match every year. Pakistan is the second largest contributor of the IMGs. And the third thing is to answer your question. To answer your question, one more thing I think that was mentioned, that 3 observations or letters are enough. They are absolutely 3 are enough, no more than 4 letters, because we have to see so many applications. We don't have them. So we'll answer other questions later.
Thank you very much. Yes, at the back, please.
Assalamualaikum. My name is Saad. So you guys talked about academics. So I wanted to know, in Ada's CV, there are 10 experiences that we have to fill. So I just wanted to know how important is volunteer experience or extracurricular experience in this regard. Thank you.
Sure. I'll say the way that you enter your CV and has changed since I applied. But just to answer your question, I think again, whatever your experiences that you think are the most important and will carry your application further. Because when we are reviewing the first half of the application, I think somebody else mentioned this as well. We actually don't read the personal statement on the first go, or at least I can't read all the personal statements in the first go. So the ERA CV is what we quickly look through. So the top 10 experiences, which can include your observership, relevant extracurricular activities. So if you were a participant versus a chair of a committee, I would put the chair further on top rather than being a participant, and then talk about what impact you made. So a mix of, you want to put a mix of your volunteer experience, your clinical activity, just show the all-rounder activity that you all are.
On the same note, can I also add on to this question is about this now, this 10 experiences, and then previously it used to be like no gaps in the CV and bigger, and now you cannot really see those gaps. You can only put 10 experiences. So how do you see it, especially for the older graduates? For example, they're out of medical school for 5-6 years and they have too many things to show. So how should they prioritize those?
So I think with the experiences, there's still dates on the side. And for me personally, I do put those, I do look at the dates. So if, for example, you were a graduate of 2015, and then some of the more recent experiences are from 2020, I wonder what happened in those, 5 years. So for me personally, I do look at the dates and see if there's no big gap.
Thank you. We have another question over there. And also just toss this out there, you can use ChatGPT for your personal statement, but I would obviously personalize it and add a lot of other things. Don't do it. Don't do it. All right. So they took the question, here's your answer. They said, no, don't do it. There was a question
Hi, my name is Sarah, and I have a similar question like we already talked about as like age or like the gaps in the CV. So I have this question from program directors, like how big of a red flag is like the gaps in the CV when you're looking after the family, like 1 or 2 years when you were just preparing for your exam and just looking after the family. So like how do the program directors see it?
So I think I've been given the mic to answer that question. So having a gap, you did your graduation in 2015 and you have not worked a single day as a physician since then. That's obviously a big red flag. So if you have done all volunteer work, you didn't become a physician just to volunteer in clinic or something. So that doesn't sit well with any program director. I think women do get a little leeway because I got married and I moved with my husband and I had 2 young kids and stuff. So maybe that justified 2 or 3 years. It cannot justify 8 years, right? So you became a physician for some reason. And if you have not practiced your trade, then there's must be something wrong. So that is why I think we do, and I'm sure that you agree as well. I want to take this opportunity to talk about step 3, and I have a little different take on step 3. My institution does not offer H1 visa, right? So step 3, that most of the people, when they take step 3, they want to go on H1 visa, so they don't have to deal with the J1 and conversion later on as well. So it really, I don't encourage to take step 3. This is my personal bias, and I know that there's some differences here as well. Step 3 is more of a clinical experience kind of test. So if you have not worked that environment, and if you're not confident that you're gonna score very high on that, then it can reflect poorly on you as well. So be careful. If you have not worked in that environment, and because it's not really a test of medical knowledge, but your clinical approach. And if you have not practiced that kind of medicine, then sometimes it's challenging as well. None of the US grads take step 3 at the time of graduation. So we want to keep the playing field a little more level. So I'm not really keen looking at the step 3 when I used to do that.
I totally agree with his part, but not with my part. So last year we had 8 H1, I think 3 to 5 are Pakistanis, right? So you do not know, you may or may not know the difference right now, but it is a big relief. For me, it is that if I want to hire that person, I can hire. This year, in the last match, we did 7. One was J2, so she couldn't convert to H1. But that is, we are looking for you, what differentiates you from the US graduates, right? So this is another differentiating point that separates you from them. It gives me peace of mind that if you do clinically, I don't have to give you 2 days off. Not that I'm against it, but I know that if you're doing clinically well, you've already passed step 3, I can promote you to PGY2. So I would highly encourage that for internal medicine program, especially the program. But again, we know that you do not have that clinical experience. And to answer that, how I have a filter of 5 years. For US is 1 to 2 years. Because first year you are junior, you are considered US graduate. They're considered seniors. Next year they are considered graduates. The match rate between the seniors and graduates is much different because we know that they didn't match first year for whatever reason. If you look at the data, their match rate is totally different than this. For you, it's 3 to 5 years. Not last year, but year before that, I had the rank order list when I was making it. I had 2018 graduates, and then I looked at all those. I took them off. I just put them 2019 because they were both equally good. So if you have equally good, well, let me use the car example. If you're getting a new model car for the same price, what would you take your old car? Just
Until we get the next question, I ordered this here about the I think you can just speak right here. If you don't need the mic, we can hear you. Dr. Tarek, would you like? Yeah. You can point to me. Yeah.
Assalamu alaikum. Manzoor Tariq. I'll just give a little different perspective also. Dr. Manzoor Tariq, I'm president of April 2011. And we've been farming up and I've been doing wonderful job at the YPC. Before I started, I would like to acknowledge Dr. Humayun Chaudhary. Hank Chaudhary, he is a graduate of George Washington University, public school from Harvard. And he is the president CEO of Federation of State Medical Boards, FLEX. He is there for, and not only that one, he was one of my keynote speakers in 2011, the Saturday night banquet. He came to St. Louis, he was keynote speaker on that night also. He's been remarkable, friendly for IMGs also. I really acknowledge also Apna, what we have done all these years, especially in the leadership of Kuram. For this year, the panel is absolutely phenomenal presentation. Your guidance is just remarkable. What message for me, for you is, don't be discouraged. I'm here with my wonderful wife. I came from a very small town, Burewala, Bihari. I was graduate of Qajar Medical College. We had no alumni. I was the founding president, made the alumni. Then I became a president for Apna, which is the biggest alumni. My alumni might be, whole organization, but still the smallest alumni at this time also. So Alhamdulillah, you do the efforts. And not only that one thing I want to show you is, I think I'll give it to Khurram and he can share with you guys. During my presidency, we published this book that is a guide to the US residency. It might not be very up to date by 2011, but some basic concept of there are process. But parents are remarkable job, but something you can get from here. And then this one was Tariq Alam, the editor. The co-editor was Shuman Tariq, is our son. And his other brother, Afnan Tariq, they were the co-editor. So I give to Khurram, you can put on the webpage, and that will be big help for you guys. Don't be discouraged. Future is bright. We used to get this dropped to about less than 100. Now Pakistani is about 600 to 700. So keep it up. Guidance is there. The future is bright for you. Very love to see you, Sheru. Was one of our Upram friends. He used to go with a small kid. He was real funny, and look at them, mashallah, he's graduated here. Best of luck for everybody. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Tarek. So we just have 3 more minutes, so we'll unfortunately we'll have to end because 10:30 we have another session coming up, and that's going to be a very important session too. Like Dr. Tarek mentioned, we have Dr. Humayun Chaudhary from FSMD, we have Caroline from ECFMG, and Alex Sharper from USMD. So very important session for you today. But moving on, we'll just have another 2 comments. We have 2 other program directors who have been, the chair of the YPC, and also they are here. They've always been supportive. Noman, Ashraf, and Sadiq, and we're great friends. So I'd just like to have their input also, if they can, Noman and Sadiq.
Assalamualaikum everyone. So I'll be very brief. I think so. I'm the program director for psychiatry and also addiction medicine fellowship. So from psych perspective, and I think talking to other program directors now, the most important thing for you guys is to have your application aligned. It needs to be focused. Those days are gone when you could have experiences from different disciplines and then apply. So now when we read, again, if you have 4 spots, 8 spots, you're getting 3,000 applications. So it's very hard to go through them. So what we're looking for is your interest in the field, in that discipline. Briefly, if you're working on your personal statement, make sure it's a personal story. There's something that's different from others. We always say, write down your thought process, your personal story, and then you can review other personal statements example. But if you review the sample first, then it can kind of drive that. And that's the problem. That's not going to separate you. Again, it's one piece in the application. If you don't have to really just work on it and make it like the best of all the personal statements, it's an important piece, but it's one piece in the application. Similarly, your clinical experience, US clinical experience, if you can get that, it's great. Externship or electives when you're students. If you cannot get it, then you are left with observership. So then you need to make sure that you get the most out of your observership. So there are 6 main core competencies. So make sure you kind of hit those with your preceptor. So when they write a letter of recommendation, unless it's a personalized letter of recommendation, it won't carry much weight. But if you work with someone, you show up on time, your medical knowledge that you get to display there, you do some presentations there. Another good thing would be if you can find like a good quality improvement project in that area, which is easy to find. Every system has some issue that can be improved upon. Get involved in that, do the quality improvement project. So then when, suppose you work with me, I write you a letter of recommendation, I'm going to reference every single thing. And if you work in the system, I will write the letter in a way where I am addressing all the 6 core competencies. So another program director, when he reads the letter, they would know that it's not one of the cookie cutter letter, it's very personalized. So similarly, every aspect of the your CV has to be aligned with the specialty. So that's the most important advice I can give you guys, and then good luck with the match.
Thank you. Thank you very much. So I don't have a prepared statement, so my English goes down if I don't have anything written. I think you guys have heard enough about the operatives, or how application works. I don't need to say more about that. I want to leave with the message of hope. You guys came all the way from Pakistan. That's many 100,000 miles away. You left your families back. And I can tell you with the experience, I've been part of YPC informally, formally for the last 10 years. If you keep trying, you're going to match. But make sure that in the process, you stay honest and you maintain your integrity and you speak your truth. That's what matters. Thank you.
Thank you, Khalid. So it's 10:31, so we'll end it here. I guess nowadays the resources are out there. It's fairly easy to navigate the questions that you might have. YPC is providing the greatest platform that you guys can really get. There are like 20,000 members on there. I think the take-home message is pretty simple. Be yourself, be real, and just trust yourself, trust the system. Things will work out. I wish you the very best. We'll move on to the next session. Thank you so very much, all the program directors.